All right, this is the Zenspath 4-Button Podcast, extra quarter number 23, covering the Wii U. This is your host, Jeremy Powers, and today I'm actually joined by a guest, someone I have watched and listened to for a sad long time now that I guess
Oh
we've talked
no.
about. Sean Orange,
Oh,
introduce
hi.
yourself.
I didn't see you there.
Yes, you just kind of showed up all of a sudden.
It's so strange that I suddenly appeared. You just like conjured me out of thin air. No, hello, I'm Sean, the Orange Course, or just Sean. And I am an erstwhile host of Famicom Dojo video game series podcast. Now also the Two Boobs Watch the Two podcast on the Nerd and Tie Network. And just general video game nerd, I guess.
Well, I appreciate you doing this. We were talking on Twitter and it came up about the Wii U, and you were like, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, man. I
Okay.
love the Wii U. It's like I need someone who wants to talk about it, but I can't find anybody. It's like I'll
I'm here.
say a few nice things, I guess.
So the Wii U has always kind of meant it's always meant a lot to my family, which I'll get into in a little bit. But pretty much, a lot of people discounted the system. They're always negative about it. I've got people that are like, "Oh, it's the worst thing Nintendo's done, forgetting the Virtual Boy exists," which is I actually had fun with mine, whatever. But
Yeah.
it had a good pinball game. I can give it that. But the Wii U itself, if nothing else, it was the system that had to fail for the Switch to succeed. But on its own, it had a nice history to it, for the hopes of what it was. This was Nintendo riding on their massive, unthinkable success of the Wii, believing everything would be fine. And then kind of, this is Nintendo's hubris coming back to bite them. Yeah, they can.
Nailed it.
Yeah. They can get kind of bad about that sometimes. So I guess just to kind of start it off with the Wii U when it was first revealed, the first time we all saw it was that video back in 2011 at E3, where you had, the guy coming in to play Mario, or the guy coming in to watch baseball while the other guy's playing Mario, which was our first look at new Super Mario Brothers Wii U, telling him that, hey, I'm going to watch the game, turns it on for some random fake sports team, which was kind of funny when I was looking that up. And that's when you first see the gamepad. And I think that's part of the problem Nintendo had at the time, was I knew it was a new system, but a lot of people couldn't tell. They thought it was just a new accessory. What was your first thought when you saw it? Like, did you think new console or did you think accessory? Because I would, a lot of people didn't really know. They weren't into it like a lot of us.
Well, I thought new console because leading up to that, we had been following the news. Now, this is back when I was working with Powet TV, so we had like articles and stuff about it, and I'd like write out this speculation vlogs that I recorded. So it's like, it'd be really cool if this Project Cafe they're talking about was, a Wii HD. If it's a real thing, I don't know why it has to be a new console per se. It could just be an upgrade of the Wii, like the Switch Pro stuff, right?
Right.
So when they announced it was going to be HD and it was going to be a new console, it's like, well, I guess that answers that question. They're not going to enhance the Wii. They're going to make the Wii U, which is a new thing. So I assumed, I guess, or there was a photo. I can't remember what the tip-off was, that there was still a Wii-like box somewhere in the equation, even though they didn't have it front and center,
Yeah.
So that's where I landed. I was pretty sure once I saw that, yep, it's just a whole new thing.
Yeah, I was thinking new console just because, like you said, the rumors and stuff that were out there, what was originally called like Project Cafe or something like that. So I knew something was coming. But they kind of did themselves a disservice when they had the gamepad front and center, which originally had those 3DS slide thumbsticks. If you remember that on the first version.
Yeah, I had forgotten that, but yes, that was
Oh, that'd have been a weird one.
Yeah, for sure.
Imagine those things snapping off and trying to replace them on some Smash Brothers.
I sure would not envy that. No.
No. but they had the console shown right there in the beginning, but it was just a small white, very Wii looking box. It was rounded, but most people didn't even pay attention, but they always had it in the background.
Right.
And yeah, that was a lot of confusion, but they went through a couple different little demos showing things, some of which became real games, some of which were just concepts. Like, of course, the Legends of Zelda HD, real-time demo that they showed off, which I guess they thought, hey, we did this with Wind Waker. We're going to make this realistic looking game and then give you something completely different, which Wind Waker was great. I love it. But they kind of did it again. Like, here's what this is going to look like. All right, we're not doing that.
Right. Right? I don't know why they keep doing that to us. I guess they stopped because we got Breath of the Wild, but still.
Yeah, that's another one we'll have to cover in here, which I know you've kind of listed it as not a Wii U game, but it kind of was, but it's kind of not.
They called it an anti-title? Yeah.
Right. So, I don't know, like, I remember seeing a lot of that. They showed off Othello where they had the gamepad on the table, right. Like you could play games just on that. And we kind of got that later on with Clubhouse games, but you can't tilt it to dip everything out. So there's no angry flipping of the table.
Too bad.
The Switch, I guess, but don't.
I mean, it has the gyroscopes in it, so they could have. They just didn't.
Right? Let people be angry and just tip things.
So disappointing.
They showed their early version of baseball, which was kind of the first view I thought of differential play, where one person with the gamepad has a different view and different play style than everybody else, where they were the pitcher while the person on the TV using a Wii remote, which was the other thing I think that confused everybody. They heavily showed the Wii remote and Wii accessories with it, like the Wii Fit balance board and and all that. But showed that for playing and so forth. They had a shooting gallery that never ended up coming out with that really crazy zapper accessory where you could apparently just mount a gamepad to it.
Oh.
You remember that one?
No.
Yeah, if you could, it was great. It looked like the zapper from the Wii, like a variation of it, but they had a gamepad attached to the back of it and the little mounting point that you could see. So you could use the triggers and things, and they would use it almost like Super Scope or Silent Scope.
Okay.
Where it had the zoomed in view and you'd look around buildings and they targeted Shigeru Miyamoto's me like they were going to shoot him. I was like, what the crap, guys?
Jeez.
Yeah, they were showing off the vertical gamepad, which eventually came out for Game & Wario, where you were using it to throw ninja stars. They showed the camera live chat. Did you ever actually use that?
No. Wait. Yeah, I would have. So I got this console like the year that my oldest son was born. So he was a little baby, and the place that my TV was located, I really couldn't have like sound on, so I would like watch TV or play video games with headphones. So right. I actually had friends who wanted to call me over that, including ones from Japan, not just Vink. And it's like I had to always decline because I couldn't be on chat like that. So it was a bummer. I never really got to use it.
Fun tip I'll give for anyone else that has children out there. If you're loud when they're babies, they just learn to sleep through it. Like they won't even care.
Would that it was up to me alone.
That was the one tip I got from my mom about that I was grateful for, because like we would vacuum and do other stuff and the kids just learned to sleep through it. You're like, oh, thank God that works.
Yep.
I think we only ever used this maybe twice, both times, just to be like, hey, cool, it can do this. Are we going to do it again? No.
Yep, that sounds about right. Sounds about right.
Then this one, like the Wii had an internet browser, but the Wii U, they showed off a browser that you were supposed to be able to control from the gamepad and do things. And I think that video, I don't remember half the stuff actually happening, where you could like turn the gamepad to a vertical format and throw videos around. Like it never got to that level, but it was an interesting concept. So yeah. And then at the very end of that unveiling was the last little nail in the misrepresentation when they sat down the gamepad by itself, like they didn't even show the console around it. I was like, yeah, that's. I didn't think about it then, but the more I heard from people later, and now going back and looking at it, I was like, okay, I can see that misstep.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
you know, we found out about that in 2011. Waited a little while, then we skipped ahead to E3 2012, which was only a couple months before the launch, which was November 18th.
Right.
Now, that E3, they tried to right the boat. They showed off a lot of games. Pikmin 3 was unveiled. They kept saying it's a console. Look, here's the console. But I think the damage was done for a lot of people. Nobody really got it, sadly. Like, I was there for it. I was excited for Pikmin and all these other things. But I don't know. But when launch came around itself, you were there at launch. I was there at launch.
Yep.
How was your launch night experience?
Oh boy. Well, I mean, we have to go back a little bit to 2006, where we did an overnighter. Like people were camping out with like actual tents and stuff. And it was this like raucous party atmosphere. You know, I brought my DS and played a lot of Owen Don and whatnot at the time, and it was just great. So I'm like, all right, I'm geared up to do it again. It's 6 years later. Let's do this. And there was nothing. I went around. There were no lines. Like went all to all the familiar haunts. We did a video the first time about it, which people had been like, it's been crazy popular since the whole pandemic started. Like people have been watching this and reminiscing about it, and I'm getting comments like every day about how much they loved the Wii, and the Wii U is not that thing. No one's going to feel this way about it. I feel real bad. So yeah, we just walked in, grabbed it, unboxed it, and played Nintendo Land, which is very much not Wii Sports.
It's not. So I told you my story about the Wii, how the store that we ordered it from wouldn't open that morning. We had a line of people waiting because there was one person inside, bless their heart, that was nervously stocking things, but kept the gate down. This was in a mall at an FYE and refused to open it. And people were kind of yelling like, what's going on? Why aren't you opening? You know, the GameStop in the mall's already opened. All their systems are gone.
Yeah.
It's getting later in the day. Like, come on. And this kid had to have been a kid, like, especially now I look at it, but he kind of walked over and finally admitted their manager had never put in the pre-orders. So no Wiis were there.
Oh God.
Which really made a lot of people mad.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But circle up later, 2012 for the Wii U, there's a GameStop built closer to my house, so I pre-ordered from there. And we showed up for the midnight launch. There actually was a little group there. Like they let us inside a little bit early, but I had the system within minutes. I was like, there was no wait, there was no struggle with it. I had it. All right, cool, I'm gone. Got the black one, bought the 32 gig model because that was the one I thought you had to get.
Agreed.
And because I wanted Nintendo Land.
Yep.
Got that home. There's pictures of me unwrapping it. My wife even making a post that she's now a Wii U widow.
Yikes.
She thought it was hilarious.
Okay, well, that's good.
But we ended up sitting there and playing Nintendo Land and New Super Mario Wii U and Zombie U. That was the other one I picked up on launch that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Nintendo Land, it's not going to be a Wii Sports for sure, like for getting to people, but I thought it was actually, it's still kind of fun to play with people. You get them together on occasion and it just, I think it should have been included with all of them, not just some of them. Just go ahead and make it the full pack in. I get the idea, but people needed something to try.
Yeah, it didn't, their strategy didn't make a lot of sense to me. Like the white basic one, who was really going to buy that? I think it was like a $50 difference, wasn't it? That wasn't that huge.
Yeah, it was basically the cost of the game.
Right, right.
Just make them all the 32 gig and go with that.
Like if you're going to expect people to download things over the life of this console, why even sell them that unit for not that much less money? And I didn't understand fully that like the SD card expansion was just for the Wii mode. So I bought a 32 gigabyte card right off the bat, and it didn't do squat for me.
I do remember sitting there and waiting as all of my Wii stuff transferred over, because I do believe that was the second time, because the
Mm.
3DS did it the first time, but I think I even recorded it as one of the earliest game capture recordings I had done,
Oh wow.
as all of my all the Pikmin carried all your stuff over, and they would load up that rocket and leave the planet Wii and go land on HD Planet Wii U and unload it. I need to find that.
It's such a wild process, and yeah, it's so incredibly involved for what they make you do, and then like just think of the programmers who had to like do all those animations for both systems. It's like, is that really worth? That's fine, whatever.
It's worth it to me. I'm not. I was like a giant 12-year-old. I was entertained. I'm like, look at the Pikmin.
It
It's got
does.
my Wii file. It's moving over my
Oh.
game.
Now I didn't do that, mind you. I didn't use my own. I think Phil Bond was the one who actually volunteered to do it, so I got some footage for him. But like my Wii, well, it's sitting right here. Oh, I can't pick it up and show it on the camera, but it's sitting right here because I didn't want to move things off. I had the Wii U. I could move it over later if I wanted to. I could still do it now actually because I have the transfer stuff, but I haven't had the need actually. In retrospect, maybe I should have because my Wii died a while later, and all the flash memory just
Oh no.
so
Oh
I would I lost my Skyward Sword save along with everything else, and Nintendo did fix it for $100 and just basically gave me a new unit more or less. Anyway,
yeah. I transferred all my stuff over, which I wasn't aware at the time that Virtual Console the coloring would be different for some of the stuff,
oh
but
sure.
I later learned how to mod systems and modded a Wii, so it
Mhm,
has the entire eShop on there now.
mhm.
So I can just play them on that. It's no big deal. But yeah, the we were playing it a good bit that night. Of course, I used it to play Wii games a lot because I was like, oh, I've got it on my HD. I can put it on my HD TV now that we
Mhm.
finally gotten, which was one of those behemoth CRT 1080p TVs or 1080i TVs.
Oh boy,
Yeah, I'm so glad when that thing was gone because it was so heavy.
I can believe it.
But I was sitting there bragging to people. I'm like, yeah, I can sit. Like you have our living room, and then like you'd have our kitchen, which is basically one giant room. And I'm like, I'm all the way in the kitchen playing the Wii U because it's like line of sight, and I can still play it.
Right.
Had to do the test to see can it make it to the bathroom.
Sure, sure.
I
And could it?
literally moved the Wii U to a position where it could.
Oh man, that's beautiful.
I had to just say that I could do it. But yeah, I was the only one that I knew really that got a Wii U, especially at launch. Um, I managed to talk a few people in. I was constantly praising, look at this thing can do. It's amazing. Your 360 is your PlayStation 3, your crap. Look at this thing.
Wow.
Oh,
I,
we
I
all
have some
made
anecdotes
mistakes.
about that when we get there, but boy,
Oh
yeah,
no.
yeah.
Well, I guess we can kind of go in from there, like, because that was our launch. That's what happened with that,
Yep.
and we played it for the longest time. But I want to kind of go into what the Wii U meant to us, memories that we had about it, moments that were kind of good about it. I'll let you start that one off.
Yeah. So, I mean, you mentioned about Nintendo Land. Like, my wife really enjoyed it.
Hmm.
Um, but honestly, my whole sell to her to get one because I was married now. This was like when I was before. I just like had a girlfriend, and I went to the midnight launch, and apparently didn't tell her I was going, and was really upset about that. But no, like it's like I'm gonna spend $350 on this video game console. New baby. I'm already playing a lot of 360 stuff, like Mass Effect 3 with that. I was doing the multiplayer, and
Hmm.
so I was already like grabbing the baby at all hours of the night to like bring him downstairs for a bit or like help him eat whatever needed to be done. So I was already up playing. So like, do you need a new console? Do you need that right now with all this family stuff going on? It's like no. See, we've gotten rid of cable, and I need a way to watch TV now. And so my whole
Oh,
sell is that I'm going to use this as a set top streaming box for Netflix and Amazon. And Hulu, I think, was also on there. So between those three things, we replaced cable with those services. And I actually did use the Wii U as my primary television for a number of years after that.
Yeah, we used it for streaming a lot as well. It's kind of funny mentioning the TV thing. Like people, they were talking about the TV function, and they were kind of laughing, like, "Wow, they're actually covering this. Like, why are they talking so much about it?" Little do they know how many years later the Xbox One would come out and
Right.
TV, 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 and you're like, "Well, it could get worse." So,
Yep.
um,
Man.
yeah, the Wii U, we used it a lot for streaming as well because remember the earlier version, they took this out later for some reason,
Mm.
but on the earlier version of Netflix, when you watched a movie on the TV, it also showed up on the gamepad at the same time.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So my daughter, uh, she's nearly blind. She can see a couple of inches. She has an anoxic brain injury. She was 13 and a half ounces at birth.
Oh.
So she probably weighed less than a gamepad. Like,
Oh God.
yeah, no, she was tiny. We have pictures of her with my wedding ring up her arm like a purse.
Oh
Like she
man.
was tiny.
Oh.
All of our kids are preemie, but she was the one that made the other ones look big. And so she would kind of start. We figured out we could start putting the gamepad in front of her, and she could actually watch TV on that. So we could watch
Oh.
a movie, and she could watch it.
Okay.
And but she always wanted to play with us, but she couldn't see the TV well enough.
Okay.
And she was still working on trying to get hand-eye coordination and things going on. So she could kind of hold a Wii remote, but she would hold it like a crab. Like she'd hold it with her thumbs on the one thumb on the D-pad, one on the B button, and that's all she could hit.
Okay.
And she'd kind of hold it like that. And I remember when, because we were playing new Super Mario U, but then new Luigi U came out.
Yeah.
And of course, being the nerd
Yep.
I wanted to get it. I picked up the actual disc copy of it.
Yep. Yep. Oh,
Which
ditto. Yep.
those watching the video, here is that lovely green case of the original copy that I got. And it dawned on me while we were playing it, Nabbit is invincible. He can just run right through
Ah.
stuff. And
Yep.
it was another one, people would laugh. It's just the Wii U would only display some games on the gamepad just the same as on the TV, but that actually was how we let Jennifer be able to play with us for the first time.
Oh, that's awesome.
So she got her. That's like the most watched video I had on YouTube, and it ended up getting. I'd written a story about it back when Game Politics still existed, with Andrew Eisen and them. And when I wrote it on my blog at the time, Zenspath.com, I told them about it in the chat because I was usually talking with them. They wrote a story about it. Then that got picked up and was put on like Kotaku and IGN and a few
Oh
places.
yeah.
So that was kind of our running joke. Like, yeah, this is why the Wii U means a lot to us. Like, she could finally play games with us. But she'd be so close to the screen. Do you remember on the old one, you could touch the screen to put platforms? So we'd be playing and a platform would randomly pop up because her nose tapped the screen. So it was an extra fun challenge for that. The three of us, her older brother and younger brother who were playing, we could play on the TV with me while she was playing on the gamepad using a Wii remote like that. And she's gotten to the point now she has her own Switch. She's playing 3D adventure games. She loves Kirby games. Like, this was the start of her playing it.
That's
and
awesome.
She has excelled, especially through like the 2DS. We got her one of the little wedges. So that was the bigger memory of us for the Wii U that we had. We had a couple other ones. I'm sure you've got some more hilarious stories or different memories of the system. Maybe no.
I don't know. Well, like, so I got it
Mm-hmm.
right, but it wasn't primarily as a video game console. Like that wasn't just a front. Like I didn't really know what I was going to buy for this thing. I did play Zombie U and I enjoyed that for a bit. But like by and large, I don't think I did much with it as a gaming device initially. I think when did Earthbound come out? Was that 2013?
Yeah, I think it was like a year or two in. They were like, "All right, fine, we'll give you Earthbound."
Yeah. So I remember playing that. I don't know why I stopped. I think I was trying to watch Breaking Bad at the same time. So I must have been streaming that on a different device at that point, and because I couldn't do both otherwise at the same time. But I don't know why that was a thing I would do. I would play Earthbound and I would watch and listen to Breaking Bad in the background. Um, but it I liked it though. I liked it because I was disappointed the Virtual Console wasn't as robust as what the Wii seemed like it was going to
Yeah.
offer. But I did enjoy that they were going to remap or allow you to like remap the controls for like just about everything. And I had this whole video lined up for like this new series that never got off the ground, and then I lost the assets for it, and I
Oh,
found them again. I wonder if it's worth putting it out now. But
it'd be
like
funny.
yeah, it might be. Like my wife even helped me like do some of the 2-player stuff that was on there. Like I had this whole thing. It's like I know that I made this video, but where is it? So, but now I've uncovered it now. Yeah, maybe I'll throw that together. But I really kind of enjoyed picking through the stuff in Nintendo Land and being like, what inspired this? Like the Balloon Trip Breeze was, uh, balloon fight.
Right.
But I didn't realize like how important that game was to Iwata at the time, right? It's like, oh, another balloon fight. But no, it's like that was his game.
Yeah.
And so I have more respect for that now in retrospect. Uh, but I was still at the time very much interested in Nintendo trying to compete, pull in AAA titles, and I ended up buying a copy of Mass Effect 3 for it for
I did too.
$12
I
because nobody
think I
bought
paid
it.
5.
Yeah, sounds about right. But I didn't learn my lesson. Right? Like I got that, and I got Assassin's Creed 3, and I was so stoked because I had been playing Phil's copy of what was the one that came out before that? Was that Brotherhood or was that later? Might have been Brotherhood.
I think it was
But
Brotherhood.
the multiplayer on that was great. And actually I played more of that than the main game. So I got Assassin's Creed 3 thinking I'm going to play multiplayer, and there was nobody to connect to. Nobody bought that game. I looked up the stats later after I bought it, and I think like 1% of the people who bought all of the games bought the Wii U version, like on any consoles. Just 1% of the market. So that
Yeah.
explained that. But technically, the Wii U version of Mass Effect 3 was better. Like it didn't have some of the frame rate drops that the 360 version had. Like it was a solid title that nobody bought or played for the Wii U, which is such a shame.
Well, what hurt it also was at the exact same time that Mass Effect 3 came out for the Wii U, they were like, hey, the other systems, we're going to release a trilogy set. Here's all 3 of them for the same
Boy.
cost.
For the same, yep. And everyone's like,
ex-
why aren't you going to release this for the Wii U? And they're like, well, we have to see if it's going to sell first. And of course it didn't.
Yeah, no, EA was really bad about that. Like, yeah, we're just going to send this to die. Oh, it didn't sell well? Shocking. We just can't make anything for this system.
Right. And I'm sure they didn't even port it themselves, right? So it's
Probably not.
no big deal to them.
I mean, it had the tool in the beginning where you could go in and kind of like fake tell it what you would have done in the first
Sure.
2 games, which was great.
Yep.
So, yeah, we should see if the multiplayer is still working. I actually have a copy. We can just, you and I hop on there for the heck of it.
Oh, man. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
While the Wii U can still get online. Huh?
Yeah, this is before we the Switch's online service. So there's no cost to this as long as the servers are still up. It might do it.
Yeah, I mean, my Wii U is actually right next to my Series X. I have the Wii U sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is that so connected? Like, well, it's the Wii and the Wii U. I can play those games. Why not?
Right. Right. Absolutely.
I'll throw on something on Netflix and be playing on the gamepad. I'll still do that. I just can't do one thing at a time. I'm horrible about that.
So first of all, you have a Series X, so I'm already jealous.
And a PS5.
And a PS. Oh God. We just recorded a podcast about the whole chip shortage issue on how it's affecting gaming in the last year and into the future, as it would seem. So,
well, as an electronics engineer, it's starting to affect my actual job as well. Like I work on radar systems and things like that, and we're having to change the pricing and availability weights for those things because it's starting to kind of fall into some of our stuff. I'm like, well, crap, this is getting bad.
Yeah.
It's getting around. No, I got lucky for the PS5 and the Series X. I happened to get both of them on launch day, but it was just weird flukes of what happened of how I got to pre-order them.
Oh, that's
It's like
hilarious.
we had a really bad storm that happened the night that the PS5s went live, because they did that like in the middle of the night. They were like, all right,
Mm.
PS5s are live to go. Well, we couldn't do it here locally because of that. So that whole day, the stores were closed, but the store was guaranteed so many copies or so
Oh
many systems that they
God.
would be able to get. So I met up with my friend who was the manager and got mine in immediately.
That's beautiful.
And then, I managed to grab the Series X the same way. And then fellow, he's been on the podcast on occasion, Remy, who's been with me, actually ended up getting me a Series S for my birthday this year.
Oh,
Because so I have that as I'm making that into an emulation machine and playing Halo in my bedroom. So,
nice.
but anyways, back to the Wii U.
Sure. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Wii U.
but it's still set up. I have that my little black Wii U sitting right next to my Series X with the hard drive on it. Also, because my youngest keeps playing the Metroid Prime trilogy on it.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the few Wii games you could actually buy on there that they brought out later on.
Yeah.
So I got that, so he quit messing with the disc version.
Nice.
One of the other earlier Wii U events that I remember, another guy that was on the show, AJ, or at DualX over on Twitter, we had made a trip from Panama City over to Pensacola. Or actually in Alabama. It was a good couple hours from here, to a Best Buy event, because they had a whole event based around Super Smash Brothers for Wii U.
Mm.
And we went to play that, to mess with Mario Kart, things like that. And we actually got video of this. We have the recordings from it. We were playing some of the rounds, and we managed to break the game in the middle of a fight. So everyone's cheering. We're all fighting and going through stuff. And as soon as one of us was playing as the villager and went to do his final smash, it shows his face with his eyes lit up like he's going all evil for that split second, and the game just locks up. And you hear everybody just go, "Wah!" like start yelling.
Oh my God.
So we had all these weird little stories that were like attached to the Wii U. I think is part of why it means more to me than a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
because, like I said, a lot of weird memories with it. So, yeah.
Yeah, as a TV device too, right? Like this is really before I had a phone, or like it was really popular to be able to stream stuff to phones, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like being able to like watch TV on the go, or in other situations you wouldn't normally do it, was kind of a big deal. So it helped usher me into this streaming world that I've lived in for the last decade, I guess.
Yeah. I'm fairly sure I probably watched some of your videos on the Wii U.
Ah, yeah.
It just seems fitting.
Yes. Better
Some
than
of those
watching
earlier
on an
Famicom
Xbox.
Dojo ones. Well, the other thing is, I guess from a technical standpoint of this, a lot of people a lot of developers thought it was underpowered. Of course, it
Sure.
was compared to the Xbox One and later the PS4 when those came out. But looking at it it was actually a nice step up from the Wii. It actually was
Mm-hmm.
a good superior jump. And surprisingly, the Switch itself is not like super like major jump from the Wii U. It's just a better version of it.
Right. I mean, it is just 3.5 GameCubes like taped together, so we can't expect too much.
Right. It's just a little bit more tape, half a console. You're good to go, guys. Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. The Wii U was the final form. It was the Super Saiyan version of the GameCube, if you think
Yeah.
about it that way. Because
It really
GameCube
was.
became the Wii, which became the Wii U. And you don't really see that generational jump anymore. Especially, like sticking to one chipset and moving on. A lot of them kind of vary. I guess I take that back. I guess the Xbox One to the Series X is kind of a generational thing now. They're kind of moving more
Sure.
towards, because they're using more standard chipsets now.
Sure.
So the other thing, this was the last analog console.
Yeah.
Nothing after it would hook up to a CRT without a bunch of jumping through hoops.
and like not to mention these days, at least some of the lower priced ones, HUTVs don't even have like composite or component inputs anymore. Like it's getting weird out there, and they're destroying CRTs at a pretty heavy clip right now. So hold on to those, guys. If you think you might want to get rid of yours, maybe don't.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn how to fix them because I want to play Duck Hunt again.
Yes.
So I'm working on a couple of them. My wife is a fan of light gun games, so
Mm-hmm.
got to play
Yeah,
those.
they only ported Duck Hunt to the Wii U Virtual Console. That's the only Zapper game that they bothered to do. I'm pretty sure,
I think it was.
which is such a shame because there are a lot of crazy Zapper games. Who Gaming Historian just put out like a comprehensive Zapper video,
Yes.
and I'm so angry because I've been sitting on that for way too long. So I got to watch it still. I got to let the professional jealousy die off first, and then I can.
I did
manage
watch it. It was
Okay.
very impressive. There was a couple games I'm like, how did I not know about these? Or I also realized I have a couple NES games I haven't, because as a collector, sometimes you'll just get cartridges and you haven't really played them much. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad I never tried that because it's a Zapper only. And how did I not know that? Like, I guess I'm not playing that one until I get the CRT fixed.
Like Gumshoe.
Gumshoe, I wasn't aware of that.
Oh boy.
Was like something to Earth.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good video. I think you'll enjoy it. He goes through all the required games, the ones that are officially supported with it, and then like a whole variety of different types of zappers, either first party or third party that were made. It's a trip. So going in, let's talk about some of the notable titles, some of the games that we know of. So the North American Wii U set only has 166 games. That's it. That's
nobody in their right mind would ever buy all of those games. I'm just
nobody.
Saying.
Nobody.
Nobody.
If you're watching the video, that could not be the entire North American set behind me. Yeah.
Oh, how awkward for me.
Yeah, I did it. I got a wild hair at my butt earlier this year because the very last official physical release Wii U game came out, and I happened to order it. It's called Shakedown Hawaii.
That was just this year?
It may have been I think it was late last year. Okay. I think after I got it, I thought about it this year that maybe I should try and go for all of them since this was the last one.
Oh, geez. Okay.
I got really lucky that most of the most expensive games I already had.
Okay.
Like Devil's Third, things like that. I already happened to have it. I think I was the only one in this county that actually had that game.
Ooh. Which version of Bayonetta do you have?
I have the one with both discs.
Ah, man.
I got it day one.
Ah. I am such a I should have done that when I had the chance because I was like, oh, I'll have the chance later, and did not realize they were going to make the first game a soft copy later on.
Well, I travel for work, and whenever I travel, I always make a habit of going to different retro game stores wherever I'm at. And I come across it on occasion. If I come across it and it's reasonable, I'll pick you up one.
All right, thanks. Dang it.
I'll let you take a guess at what the last and most difficult game for me to find was.
Boy. It wasn't that Zelda shooting thing, was it?
No. I got that with the Zapper when it first came out.
No idea.
Dreamworks Turbo Super Stunt Squad.
I would not have guessed.
Yeah, this one cost me more than I wish to admit to get it. But the guy was nice enough to send it in like one of those plastic sleeves, so it's like sealed in. It's not sealed. I can open it, but it's kind of protected. And I was like, nah, I'm just gonna leave it in there for the heck of it. But yeah, it's 166 games, but only 164 cases. Because like I said, Bayonetta's 2 games in 1. There's some other ones. But I was going to have us go through a couple of the notable titles.
Sure.
Or as you put it, I guess you can start off with your non-title.
Yeah, man. I mean, I was already kind of salty about how Nintendo handled the release of Twilight Princess, because we've been promised this GameCube game forever, and then they were going to release the Wii, and then they released it for both.
Mhm.
But of course, I got the Wii version, and silly me didn't either not realizing, or by the time I found out, not really caring that they mirrored the entire game just so. I even have a Wii remote right here. I can pick up as a prop, just so right-handed people, you heathens, could play the game without feeling any kind of weird body dysmorphia or whatever. Listen, I'm left-handed. This wouldn't have bothered me. So is Link. So you mirror an entire game. Do you know what you lost when that happened? You lost the fact that the map overlays with Ocarina of Time's map. So angry. Well, anyway, the same thing happened with Breath of the Wild. It was the last Zelda game, the only new Zelda game they were going to release for the Wii U, and they released it for the Switch. I guess I can't be too mad, because I guess the Switch version is technically better, and that's the one that I got. But it wasn't different otherwise, really. Not like the Wii version was.
Yeah.
So,
Twilight Princess, I got it on the Wii, like you did. I did go ahead. It was like, what, 2 weeks afterwards they released the GameCube version. And I did pick that one up, but I didn't play it that much. Still have it. And then Breath of the Wild, I picked up. I ended up getting both versions of that because I was going to get them both just because I like collecting the Zelda games, but I was playing it on the Switch. But we only had that one Switch, and I didn't want my kids to break it. So I let them play Zelda on the Wii U.
Gotcha. Nice.
Which it runs really well on there. Like everybody, it runs it just fine. You can tell it was kind of originally meant for the system. The only major difference is it runs at 720p. It's just a lower resolution.
That makes sense. Sure.
But they were playing it, and I was even kind of watching him going like, okay, that's actually really good. Like you're going through everything. It's just fine. And they had the added bonus. They could switch to the gamepad. Like, well, you can technically play it now at even lower resolution at 480p, but you're playing it portably like your dad. You can't leave the house.
Right.
I'm going to go sit in a Waffle House and play it. You sit here.
Man. I mean, they did end up porting other games to it, like Wind Waker. So I guess yeah, people. So we got a GameCube Zelda title, but people didn't like the toon shading. I didn't mind. I loved it. Wind Waker's a great game. But
I thought that was one of the best HD remakes they made. Like it's so well done.
It's so pretty.
It holds up even now. I've had this argument recently that I think a good art style will outlive a realistic game. Like it just, over time, a realistic one looks more jarring, not because it's bad, but because you look at it and go, well, they want to make it realistic, but this texture doesn't look right. Now that model doesn't look right. But an art style is forever.
Right. And they use that and they use that style for the DS, which I guess is designed to have, it has like a built-in toon shading mode to it. So it was like it was meant for that, basically.
Yeah, it carried over perfectly.
But I was finally able to play Twilight Princess the way it was intended on the Wii U, so I guess I really can't complain.
I think I enjoyed Twilight Princess more on the Wii U than I did even on the Wii or on the GameCube, because at the time, like, I liked it, but it felt like it felt too much like it was trying to be Ocarina of Time again, to a point. Like, not directly, but I had that thought in my head at the time. So when I got to play it again on the Wii U, it was kind of further time from that thought, and I could just sit down and enjoy it and like, okay, no, this is actually a really fun game. I am really liking it.
Yeah.
Get to run around on the horse and explore this, at the time, somewhat open world.
Yeah. And
so
then
tiny,
they fridged Zelda right away, which surprised me. Oh, spoilers. Guys, the game's been out for a while. You're just going to have to deal with it. Zelda isn't the Twilight Princess? No, she's not.
Zelda's in a Zelda game?
Well, there's that too.
Sometimes she's not. I don't know.
She's fine. I said they fridged her. She's fine. She makes it.
I'm kind of wondering how many people actually know what that term comes from. The Green Lantern comic that originally came out of.
I actually got to meet Ron Mars.
Oh no.
he came to my university in 2004, so he got to talk about his career and stuff and all that. But man, I don't think he realized he gave birth to a trope, or he popularized it infamously. It's all right. It's okay.
Oh man. One of the notable titles I wanted to bring up, other than of course we talked about New Luigi U because of its importance to my family, but the one we played the most ridiculous amount of was Smash Brothers for Wii U.
Oh yeah.
So Smash Brothers for 3DS came out months prior. So I remember waiting at the store. There was a larger group, which made no sense. Like there was not that many people waiting for the Wii U itself. You had a whole group of people waiting for Smash Brothers. I'm like, did you guys just eventually pick one up? What's going on? But for years we had started, and if it wasn't for COVID, we'd still be doing this. We did it for like the last 5 years straight. We had a game night every Saturday, and Smash Brothers would be played. So I had the full set of GameCube controllers, all 8. I had 2 of the GameCube adapters so we could plug them in.
Nice.
We would play that thing, and we played it so much the disc wore down, I think, just from handling, and it wouldn't read anymore. So it's one of the few games I went and got another copy of it so we could keep playing it.
That's beautiful.
And the other notable part about Smash Brothers, this is what started Amiibo.
Yeah, man.
Because this was not the first use of NFC on the Wii U. Do you remember what those were?
It wasn't Skylanders, was it?
No, there was a Skylanders that was an Amiibo, but that was different.
I'm drawing a blank.
It was these little Pokemon, like super fragile, very polygonal, basic Pokemon figures that were for Pokemon Rumble.
Oh,
you had to buy them in stores as a blind box to get them. I still have them.
I don't remember this at all. Yikes. Okay.
Yeah, they're basically proto Amiibo. They're the first thing that use NFC.
Okay.
If you try and use them now with the Switch, it pops up saying it doesn't recognize it as an Amiibo. And I was like, that'd have been a great little joke to have those at least pop up. Like, where'd you find this thing?
Man, they could still release a patch. Nintendo, I know you're listening because you follow me around. Make it happen, Nintendo.
There you go. Well, those Pokemon were so fragile because they'd pop off the base very easily. Like I've had a couple of them break. Thankfully, I had doubles of a few, but just sitting them down weird. And I think this is what led to all the bracing on the Amiibos. Like, what would they call it? The one on Link, like the P cast or whatever, the yellow cast down his leg, stuff like that. That's what led to some of that, I think.
That makes sense. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the concept, and I was very skeptical, but I still bought some.
I went in all in. I pre-ordered and got the entire first day set. Boy, that proved to be a smart move because they became impossible to find after that. Yeah,
man.
And I'm still collecting them. I'm gonna finish the Smash Brothers set. Damn it.
Yeah.
I mean, I got Banjo-Kazooie now. Never thought that would happen.
Oh man,
it's so beautiful.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, my kids keep asking what that stuff is, and I'm like, we should probably just play Smash Brothers. Just show it to them. Just play it. It'll be fine. Because they love Smash Brothers. Yeah, and they should. You would think so, but so for those who don't know, like the name of this game, it's Smash Brothers for Wii U and Smash Brothers for 3DS. There's a 4 in the title because it's the 4th Smash Brothers. It's super clever, you guys.
Yeah. I kind of laughed about that. I was like, wow, they actually used it for that. I do remember this was one of the games that set a rule for game night because I had a lot of people that wanted to use the gamepad. Like, I got to sit farther back here because you try and shove 8 people into one area and it gets kind of packed. So someone's like, hey, I'll use the gamepad and sit back here. And I'm like, I would always think, because I'd look at the wear and tear on my GameCube controllers and then go, wait, that'll be on my gamepad? No. It's like, all right, hard rule. You can use any controller in this house you want, but you cannot use the gamepad for Smash Brothers because I can't replace it.
Yeah. That reminds me of a couple of things. First, that when the gamepad was first announced, people were very confused about what it meant,
Hmm.
and there were lots of questions around like, well, like, does it support another gamepad? Because it wasn't clear to us yet that there would be like a pro controller,
Hmm.
and not just like a Wii controller. And then now, like, Smash Brothers kind of proved that, well, they'll release these $20 add-ons for the Wii remotes, right? But there was also this assumption that people would have Wii remotes. So I'm glad
Yeah.
that they had the GameCube adapter, because it's like people are very particular about their muscle memory with the GameCube controller, and I might be one of those people. Um, but that also reminds me, given talk about how like development goes on this thing. I had a friend who worked for Human Head,
Really?
and so when they had to work for Wii U and getting kits from Nintendo, they didn't get much. And it's like, hey, we need to make sure, they're required to make all the different control schemes work with their game. So it's
Yeah.
like, hey, we need Wii remotes to finish our testing for compatibility. You didn't send us anything. It's like, well, don't you guys just have them laying around? The hubris, Nintendo. Dear God. Anyway, sorry, just
I mean,
just
they could have probably they were everywhere. Like Wii remotes were
I guess, but
be
that's
like,
not
oh,
what
there's
you
a
want to.
cockroach. Ah, I brought a Wii remote. Like, like they just get around.
Those dev kits aren't cheap. I'm just saying.
I can imagine.
Anyway, um, no, the legacy of this game. I mean, Ultimate just finished as a game. They're done making Ultimate finally. Uh,
Which I
uh,
still feel is properly named because holy crap.
right. So like the whole like DLC character thing. First Smash Brothers started with Smash Brothers for Wii U and 3DS, and
Hmm.
for a while there, you could buy like combo kits. Like if you want it for both games, you could get the DLC at a reduced rate for both.
Oh, I
Um,
remember that now. Holy
yeah,
crap.
right. So there weren't as many characters, but you could spend a lot of money on that. But then the GameCube adapter itself ended up coming to the Switch, and they finally did things with it that they said they would never do with the Wii U, which is like, actually make the GameCube work on other games besides Smash on the menu. Like I remember it was a big deal when the Switch firmware update came down and it supported the GameCube stuff like natively finally. So
Yeah, it just
the,
treats it like a wired gamepad now, or a
mhm.
pro controller, which is great. And they finally did the update for what was it, Mario Sunshine, where it now supports it as full GameCube control
Jeez,
with triggers.
what an oversight.
Like if they had done that for you know for the Wii U, I think it would have been so much better being able to use
I
those
They
because that was
could
one
have,
of
they
the
just
weird
wouldn't.
things.
Yeah.
Because the gamepad was digital triggers, it didn't have any analog. So I remember people would argue
Mhm.
like, "Oh, we're getting these racing games." I was like, "Yeah, we could do it on here, but there's no. What about your triggers?
Right.
I'll make it work."
Blackjack
I
and
was
whatnot.
so gung ho,
Oh, jeez.
man. Um, so yeah, that led to a lot of stuff. Another one that you mentioned
Mm.
was Earthbound for Virtual Console.
Yeah, we touched upon it briefly, but this was a big deal that it was finally available in soft form, because it's not really clear. Maybe it was the licensing issues that they couldn't or didn't want to do it earlier, but there was never been a re-release until that point. And those cartridge values were and are still pretty insane. I guess
Yeah,
all cartridge values are insane now, but
yeah, but that one is a special case. Even I'm looking at it going like, yeah, I don't know
mm,
if I can afford that. And I've bought some ridiculous expensive stuff recently.
right. So, good on you, Nintendo, for finally giving the fans what they want, except Earthbound or Mother 3. Haven't done that yet, but we're
Yeah, no Mother 3. We got Earthbound Origins, which was the
yes,
NES one. That was
yes.
surprising because I was
That
like,
was
okay, I didn't even
surprising.
know that was there.
But, just
I
being able to
tried playing
play
it.
yeah, I haven't yet. I really should. But, just finally playing this game and seeing what people had been talking about since I was like 14. Was that right? I don't know. But yeah, like it took decades to finally be able to play this game, and that was a big deal. Still is.
Yeah, because it's one I hadn't really played much prior to that either. Because I saw the game, and I kick myself for this decades later. Now it was
Mm.
at Circuit City. May it rest in peace.
Oh yeah,
They
that's
had
where I
a
got my TV
bargain
from.
bin full of them for like $15.
Oh
Big box,
god.
book, everything, just sitting there. And I was like, what is this crap? And walked away. And I'm like, what was wrong with me? Like, why didn't I know? I was in that stupid teenager age where I'm like, that looks like a kid's game.
Well, and I didn't really do RPGs at the time either, so I
Yeah,
I I had my own hangups.
we're all stupid when we're young.
Nah, I'm stupid now. I don't know what you're
I'm about to
talking
say
about.
some of us are still stupid now. Yeah. I wasn't saying you, but some other people.
I'll say it.
Oh yeah. Um. So the last thing I wanted to cover on for the games for this part was a couple of the titles that I thought had fun uses of the gamepad.
Okay.
Because Nintendo originally, that was their big selling point, was the gamepad. That was a differential that I would argue, like, oh, yeah, your PS4 may be more powerful, but does it have a gamepad?
Aha.
No, but
Checkmate.
yeah, might as well have not. Uh, so one of the things that I used a lot, Call of Duty Black Ops 2 and Call of Duty Ghosts. It's like one of the few times I actually got into Call of Duty, but I did get both of those for Wii U.
Okay.
There's still multiplayer on them. Bless you if you give that a try, because it is a hot mess now.
I bet.
Cheaters rampant. You've got people playing with Wii remotes and nunchucks. Like, it's ridiculous. But it was one of the games that you could play co-op, one on the gamepad and one on the TV. And you could even go full online multiplayer. Wouldn't have to be on the same team, but you could both be playing on the same system.
Oh
But you both got
man.
your own screen, and it ran great.
Ah,
So
would that Splatoon had done that as well? That would have been great.
that would have been, because I originally thought Splatoon would not work well without the gamepad, but Splatoon 2, they worked it out. I think it could have done it. Like, I would have happily played that. It'd have been probably a more fun one-on-one mode, at least, because they had something kind of like that, I think, from single player stuff on Splatoon. That game was, I didn't mess with it too much locally, but it had something. But there's a few other games that did this. Did you ever play any of the Lego games on the Wii U?
Lego Dimensions. That's about it.
Well, that was one of them. Lego Dimensions was one. They had Lego Avengers, Indiana Jones, stuff like that. All the ones that had multiplayer, it was the only one, because if you played these on 360, if two people played and you walked away from each other, it'd do that weird split screen where it'd be moving the screen around.
Sure. Okay.
That didn't happen on the Wii U.
Yeah.
One of you was on the gamepad, one was on the TV. You could go to whole different sections. I remember Jurassic Park. I went to two different areas completely, and you could do it without that. The frame rate sucked, but when you're playing with kids that were randomly running around, I could still play and not have that crazy screen shaking going on. So that was one thing I kind of miss.
Absolutely. Yeah, I could have gotten Lego Dimensions for that or for my PS4, and I just like, the Wii U needs some love. So I did that, not realizing I would have that benefit. So yeah, my kids really dug the heck out of that. So I'm glad I went that way.
Yeah. I picked up the PS4 one later, like when it went like super cheap. I just picked up a disc and a pad because all the figures worked over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever play Terraria on the Wii U?
No, I should have, but I didn't.
This one was kind of like the perfect storm of the 3DS version that came out later.
Okay.
Because you would have the TV would have the big open view. Like, it'd be zoomed out. You could see all around you really far, but the gamepad was right around you. So you could see everything and go pick, block by block, touching and moving things or drawing to design stuff or work with your items. So you had all that precision, but also didn't like lose sight of the world.
Okay.
Something Minecraft should have done, but surprisingly didn't.
Right.
Like, Minecraft never did any of that.
That is right where my mind went. And then, I'm glad you said it first. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of an odd one. Another one was Need for Speed Most Wanted. This was
Okay.
another of the games that I was like bragging about to people because I had played it on 360. I played it on Vita. Like I really enjoyed that game. But surprisingly, the Wii U one was technically a superior version because it
Oh,
had all of the PC textures. Like it could handle those higher
okay.
textures and some of the models, so it looked better. But of course, it came out so much later, no one cared.
Right, right. Unfortunately.
But if you were playing on the TV with like a pro controller, whoever had the gamepad could control the environment and what was going on. They could change the weather, the time of day.
Oh
They
my
could turn
gosh.
traffic off, turn it on. They could change your cars out. Like all kinds of
Oh,
crazy little things could be done on the gamepad. So it was kind of a fun way to like a god mode for somebody else to play while you played.
oh, so it's like a souped up player too in Duck Hunt.
Right. Less annoying, and you could actually help your little brother instead of messing
Sure.
with him.
That's wild.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even really know about that feature. Like they just never really messed with it.
Huh. That's
Um,
super cool.
yeah, Pikmin 3. I'm sure you played that one.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Although I didn't play it before they did their final like quality of life updates to it. So when I went to go stream it earlier this year, I had to like deal with all the default weirdness and the touchpad stuff they ended up adding to it and turn it all off because I'm like, I don't get this. I'm old.
I I will defend to the end of time that like I'm glad Pikmin 3 came on the Switch, but I
Mm,
still think the Wii U is the superior way to play it.
okay.
I think it's better on there because the way I played was you could use the gamepad as your real-time map. So I had it
Yes.
sitting in the stand on the charger
Right.
on the table in front of me. I would use a Wii remote and nunchuck to control the characters because I really did like that control style from Pikmin 1 and 2, and they got remade with the new controls.
Mm,
But
mm.
you could go down and actually use the map to send people like a real time strategy game. I want you to go here and like draw the line to where they're going and so forth. So many RTSs they could have legitimately done. Like, could you
Two of those
imagine like
kids.
Command and Conquer or
Yeah.
StarCraft on the
Yeah,
Wii
man.
U?
Oh, now that you put it that way.
You could have
Dang.
you could have had almost mouse and keyboard level control on the TV with a remote and nunchuck while having the full map accessible on the gamepad.
Missed opportunity.
It could have been great.
Ah, I'm so angry.
That's what kills me is like I could see all this potential and so much of it never happened, and I was like, oh.
I mean, you say that now, and it reminds me of like you know what I really wanted more of.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, I wanted there to be like ports of 3D or DS titles because like
Yes.
with the gamepad and the TV, you could basically have like a DS type game going or like sequels to those games that were still dual screen, but it's probably too late by then because nobody owned a Wii U and no one was going to develop a really cool game for that at that point. It was just
Yeah.
I
We only
was
really got a
hoping.
couple games that were like that, which was the Kirby one
Mm,
where you could draw on there.
yep.
Um, I can't remember the exact name off the top of my head, but that was kind of a sequel to its DS version.
Yep.
And then Scribblenauts was a really good bring over from that because you could write and
Yeah.
draw on the screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those were a lot of fun.
And these are things that you lose on the Switch. Like you don't really have a touch screen. None of the games can use the touch screen, I don't think. It's just the system, operating system that can do it.
Yeah, you can't. You have to use it in portable mode. Like you can play Scribblenauts on there and do all that, but you
Okay.
can only do it in portable.
Okay, right.
I would it would great. I would pay for the DLC if I had to. We have my whole family has a Switch now, so there's 5 Switches here. I'll pay for a way to use one as a gamepad to it. Like that would be great.
Nice. Right?
It'd be laggy as crap. I don't care.
Yeah, that's fine.
The last one I wanted to bring up, and this was one of the first that I would really show off to a lot of people when we got the Wii U, which we talked about earlier, was Zombie U.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that whole idea behind being able to use the gamepad at the same time as a different view
Mm-hmm.
while the game would keep going. You could not pause that game.
Right.
Nothing
Right.
stopped. So if
Right.
you were working on a lock or trying to figure out a puzzle, the TV would switch to like a slightly different view from your character, so you could keep an eye behind you, and you'd have to look up and down and kind of focus on it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people complain about that. Oh, it's so tiresome to look up and down. I was like, you have a neck, you have eyes. Do you not watch children? They're everywhere. Like,
Yeah, you need to, right?
Get your head on a swivel, man. Come on.
Yeah, you gotta get the ones installed in the back of your head. Didn't get that upgrade when you got kids. I don't.
It's natural. It just comes. They install it at the factory.
Oh yeah.
But the other gamepad thing I wish they had done, and they talked about this specifically at the 2012 E3, was the ability for the Wii U to have 2 gamepads.
Yeah, and I feel like that was a response to people being like, I don't get what this gamepad is. You can buy 2, right? And they're like, oh, yeah, we'll let you buy 2. I wonder if they were placating us. I wonder.
Well, I looked at it because people complained on the technical side of it because there was caveats to it.
Okay.
They came out and said, which they never did sell these in stores.
No, they never. That's why I wondered if it was a real thing. Okay. Yep.
Well, they got to the point that they had tested it and they talked about it because they did say, I can't remember what interview I saw on it, but they said that if they did it, each gamepad would only be able to run at 30 frames.
Sure. Makes sense.
And I tried to explain that to people because this is a wireless device. It has to have FCC permission. Yep. So when you do that, like I said, I was an engineering student at the time. So I was like, well, this makes perfect sense to me. You're only allowed so much bandwidth. So if you've got enough bandwidth to give the gamepad 60 frames, you have to fit within that same tube to do 2 at 30 because you have to divide it up.
Yep.
So it made sense to me, but a lot of people saw that as a complaint and they'd just be like, oh, that's going to make it horrible. It'd be 30 frames. That's weak. I'm like, I'd rather have fun 30 frame than nothing at 60. Like, come on.
Right. I mean, that's what happened when you split Lego Dimensions. It happened when you did Splatoon. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, heck, it wouldn't have really changed the 30 frame side of it, but like you could have just completely turned off the TV and had a head-to-head game that required 2 gamepads. Yeah. That you would just sit there and play together, which they do it all the time now on the Switch.
Yep.
Like it works. It's just at the time it was kind of early. So, all right. So the last 2 things I wanted to talk about real quick, we'll go through a couple of our favorite games from the system, and then a quick little talk about what we think the legacy of the system is.
Yeah.
So I'll let you start off. Like, what are some of your favorite Wii U titles?
Well, I mean, there's a deluxe edition on the Switch now, but Mario Kart 8, when it came out for the Wii U, was like a revelation. Like it was gorgeous. It was HD, and I think I skipped Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS, but I was pretty heartened by the kind of return to the Super Nintendo form that the Game Boy Advance version represented. And I liked Double Dash, but it was just a different experience. So I mean, I guess there was a Mario Kart Wii game that I didn't really play. So it was
okay.
Yeah. I was really happy to finally have a console Mario Kart game again. Not to mention, like, it feels like it's the reason we didn't get a new F-Zero game, because it was already basically an F-Zero game, and I dug the heck out of it. So I'm glad people are actually able to play it on the Switch as opposed to the Wii U, so it's definitely deserving of that port, but I haven't bought it yet. I'm still playing my Wii U version.
I got to give them credit. The Switch version does have really good enhancements, and it actually has full multiplayer. Like actual what they should have had multiplayer, not just race around tracks.
Okay.
If you pick it up, I'll play with you.
All right.
We play it a
Dang
lot.
It.
And they did bring back some of the old maps, so there's some SNES and all those. I remember the first time I got to see Mario Kart 8, and it was the track that's basically a giant question block in the sky with a vine growing out of it that you race down that goes into some airships and flies around, and just being blown away with how gorgeous it looked.
Right? Ah,
It was just between that and the actual figure 8 track, the Mario
mhm,
one.
mhm.
That's that ribbon.
So
Yeah, that
good.
game is still absolutely amazing looking. What else you got?
Well, we mentioned Lego Dimensions a few times, and I
Hmm.
wanted to specifically call out the Doctor Who expansion pack because there hasn't been a decent Doctor Who game until now. I mean, there have been like some like online things, like adventure type things, but like the way that Lego Dimensions like builds in all of these references to things, especially something that has such a history as Doctor Who does, they packed everything they could into that stuff. And I enjoyed the heck out of it. Did a whole video about how you can unlock 13 different TARDIS console interiors, and
I
nobody
saw the
watched
thumbnail
it.
for that. Well, I saw the thumbnail for
Oh,
that earlier and realized, holy crap, I didn't know that was in there. So I will be going back and doing that now because I have it.
dude. All
Because
right,
I
yeah.
had to get my little TARDIS, and I'm like, well, there's a mission now.
No spoilers, but there's one of them you can only get at certain times, and they were very clever about it. So I'll tell you how to do it.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's I
Well,
just
thankfully,
I
there's a
love
video I
this
can
so
watch about
much.
it.
Yeah, super cool. Whoever did that deserves like a medal and maybe a pizza trophy.
Pizza. Sorry, go ahead.
um, uh, I guess the the biggest one I should mention before I forget is the fact that there was that port of the 20th anniversary edition of Another World on there.
Hmm.
It was on the 3DS also, and I guess it was for PC first technically. But this sort of started a trend for me anyway of like getting games that had been ported through like Kickstarters or other remakes and whatnot that are more popular on the Switch now.
It was
But
on
this was like,
3DS.
yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
know
I
that.
bought it. Yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah, yeah. Uh, it's but like I loved this game. It's called Out of This World in the US. If you are familiar with that, it was ported to the
Hmm.
Super Nintendo. There's like a Sega CD version, but there's an Amiga 60 or the Jaguar version. There's
I
all
think
these
I
different
picked up the
versions of it.
Switch re-release collector's edition of it actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I got that
basically
one.
the same game as the Wii U one.
Hmm.
And it's just it's phenomenal, and like it's amazing to me that a game that was made 30 years ago uh like needed minimal work. I mean, I'm underselling it because there was probably a lot of work to be done, but like, for the most part, like the vector graphics that the original designers put into this thing are used in the modern day ports because that's just how you got around space limitations of the Amiga.
Yeah, once
So
again, art style over realism. I
right,
mean,
right. Like it's an incredible game. It's frustrating and rage quitty, and probably not everyone's cup of tea. But I loved it as a kid, and I just love this version. And it sent me on a magical journey of discovery about its entire creative process. Got us to talk to Rebecca Heineman, who did the port for the Super Nintendo.
oh wow.
She's a wealth of knowledge about Interplay's inner workings and just the kind of technical know-how you had to have, low level stuff. Like she learned to read Japanese to like understand what the Super Nintendo could do.
I'm kind of jealous. That would be a heck of an interview.
Oh my gosh. Well, we'll see if we can get her on like a proper podcast. We just talked to her one on one, but yeah, she is. I'm professionally jealous of her because she's an amazing programmer. So it's great. But yeah, so
So, was there any specific like gameplay changes or features that for the Wii U version, or was it just kind of a direct port and it just mimicked the screen?
it's basically a direct port. I think they
Okay.
added some difficulty levels to it.
Oh,
So
okay.
there was like a little surprising few little bits, but for the most part, it's an unchanged game. Um, yeah, but there are more restore points. So if you don't like starting all the way back from 10 minutes ago, then you might have an easier time with it.
Yeah, games like that weren't so bad when we were younger because you could have. It was a very trial and
Right,
error game.
right.
You'd just be like, "Oh, I died. Well, I'm just sitting here on this Saturday, so I'm going to go again."
Nope, nope.
There were no responsibilities. Who cared?
We don't have time. We're going to be dead soon. We need to get through this.
Right. Save states are important at our age. I'm envious of my children.
Right.
So a couple of the ones I wanted to mention that I really liked, Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate
Mm.
on the Wii U.
Sure.
I played the living crap out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed Monster Hunter for some of the previous ones. I tried it out on PSP, had the weird claw hand thing, got into it on 3DS because this was also brought over to that.
Mm.
But this one had the feature where you could actually take your game save and transfer it between the Wii U and the 3DS.
Ah.
So I would actually get to continue to have, play my stuff, take it portably, go up to the college. We'd play up there, come back to the house, switch over again. You could also play local multiplayer with it, where you could hook up 3DSs wirelessly to the Wii U itself.
Oh, man.
And that was one of the first games I ever streamed because we figured out we could stream with my old Elgato, original HD, whatever, running at 30 frames.
Yeah.
I could stream that out through my laptop and see my screen while the others were on their 3DSs and playing. Mm. So it was always only my camera view, but we could actually see everybody running around and doing stuff as we're yelling at each other on the couch and trying to figure out what's going on. But it worked out great. It was, you can do that now with the Switch version, which I've really enjoyed because when they brought that back, it was kind of returning back to that. Like, hey, we can all sit around and play together, one of us on the TV and the others wirelessly or vice versa. So that's been great. Another one I was going to mention, of course, was Lego Dimensions for the same reasons that you had mentioned it. Like I still have a couple of the packs I haven't opened yet. Like I need to break it out and.
Yeah, mine are back there somewhere on that shelf. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got a hold of like the Midway pack with the arcade stuff. I got a hold of I have the Portal one that I haven't opened yet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mission Impossible. Like it was such a weird collection of stuff. There was a Scooby-Doo one, I think.
Good.
Like that's still such a amazing collection of licenses that you never would think would come together. Yeah. Like I'm actually more impressed by what they did than even Disney Infinity. Like
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Disney Infinity like shut down, like, and it's like dead. Like I can still play Lego Dimensions.
I think I can still play Disney Infinity. I just can't load up some of the new characters, but it's still playable. Okay. I just can't do the shared stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be very annoyed about that because I do like going back and playing with some of the Marvel stuff in that.
Okay.
We already talked about Pikmin 3. The last one I want to mention, have you ever heard of Affordable Space Adventures?
Yes, but I have not played it.
This, I think, is one of the best 3-player cooperative games ever made.
Okay.
So 3 of you are playing on this dinky little ship. One of you who has the gamepad is the engineer. You control the engines, what kind of engine you're running, the amount of power, what's on, what's off, your switching systems. You're basically using the gamepad like a control pad, which is great. The other 2 players, they can play with a Wii Remote or a Pro Controller, it doesn't matter. But one of them is the pilot, so they're controlling where the ship is going, and I think where the spotlight is facing, while the other person is controlling the weapon systems. And so you're having to go through and work together to fly this ship through different environments where there may be creatures that they'll have a bubble around them that if you get into it and you make too much noise up to a certain level or whatever, or you generate too much heat or different things like that, it'll detect you and come kill you.
Okay.
So you might have to like put the thrusters on max with the engineer while having the pilot guide you up to it. Have the weapons guy, I think he has the light to, make sure the light doesn't shine on or whatever. And then at the last second, turn the engines off so you can use your momentum for the pilot to drift through and then turn it back on when you get through it. Like it gets complicated in such a fun way. Like you will spend an entire night just yelling at each other, trying to get through some of these puzzles. It's so funny.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Um, this is one of the games I would absolutely love if it had gotten a physical release, because I hate the fact one day it'll go away, and or if it would get like a Switch re-release. Give you, if you have to buy it, like it had a single player mode, but if you could hook up more than one Switch, you could kind of emulate the same stuff and keep going. But it's still available in the store. It's like $20.
Okay.
If you have two other people to play with, it is totally worth getting for the Wii U.
That sounds great.
And it's got a very sarcastic, almost British humor to it.
Excellent.
For how they do stuff. And with you liking Doctor Who, I think you'd get a kick out of this.
Yes.
So, all right. So, last thing I wanted to talk about is the legacy of the Wii U. Obviously the Switch, the Wii U failed, so the Switch could succeed.
That's a great way of putting that. Yeah.
Yeah. The Wii U, everybody wanted it to be what the Switch ended up becoming. So that was kind of Nintendo finally listening and going, oh, we screwed up. Oh, this is what you want? Okay, we can do that now. Let's do that, And both those systems were the last two that Iwata was involved in.
Yep.
May he rest in peace.
Yep.
And I think that's part of why I was so excited for the Wii U, is because he would talk about it in such an exciting way of what you could do with it as well. Like he absolutely loved it. And I was just like, okay, he likes it. I'm in, let's do this. But what do you think, beyond just the Switch itself, the legacy of the Wii U will be like for people's perspective, or, design wise, things like that?
That's a great question. Cause the whole streaming aspect of it is not present on the Switch. I think they have like a Netflix and whatnot on there, but like it's not meant for that. Like it's not your primary driver. It's like a get up and go machine.
Yeah, surprisingly, it doesn't have Netflix. It has Hulu, and it has
Hulu. Okay,
yeah, Hulu,
that's
and I think something else, YouTube.
But yeah, I don't and would not use it for those things. So that aspect is gone. The TV thing, great for the Wii U. I don't think it's part of its legacy that people are going to really remember it for. That's just my personal memory of it. But I think the at the time the Wii U felt like it was kind of our revival into retro gaming. Even though the Virtual Console wasn't so much part of, it wasn't as good. It still led to the Earthbounds and other things, and just kind of showed you don't have to have AAA titles to like have a good gaming machine. And the Switch feels like it's sort of doubled down with that choice by continuing on with like indie developers, really pushing great experiences that way. Like A Short Hike is a game I got about a year ago, is fantastic on there. Like these are things that you can get on other platforms, but like, Nintendo actually partners with them to like help do the physical releases and stuff that they really need to. So yeah, I think Nintendo's like business model, apart from just the physical nature of the console systems, is what's going to help keep them profitable beyond the Switch.
Okay. Yeah, the the Wii U itself was like, I think, was a sign of the times for Nintendo's hubris, like we said earlier, with their belief they're going. Yeah, I'm gonna finish up here. Don't worry. So I'm kind of hoping that they don't get back to that with the Switch. They've kind of made some weird decisions with it because it becomes so popular again that I'm kind of worried they're going to fall back into it. But hopefully they'll kind of stick with it. But I think one of the biggest things for the Wii U was it let them bring in new blood to kind of try and be creative again. That's how we got Splatoon and things like that, which started off on the Wii U and really blossomed on the Switch. But as you said, it was also how they started to embrace, I think, indie developers way more, like you said. Like they actually were like, okay, we can't get the big ones. We're going to get all these other smaller ones. And the Wii U became, for a lot of my earlier indie titles that I played, which is how Affordable Space Adventures came to be as well, I think. So,
The best version of the new Shadowgate, I think, is on the Switch as
Yeah,
well. So,
yeah,
yep.
for a lot of those. I think people are starting to remember the Wii U a little bit better. Um, I'm hoping they'll kind of come around it and like it, but I think the show's gone on for a bit now, so we can go ahead and start wrapping this up. I know I appreciate you
Yeah.
joining me for this. It was kind of a nice surprise that you were coming on for it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this serendipity, right? Like just happened to mention something on Twitter, like, how come nobody's seeing this stuff? And then you're like, yeah, I haven't seen you post anything on Twitter for a while. And then let it this. So it was
I
perfect.
was paying attention. Uh, so, Sean, where can we find you on the internet?
Sure. Well, I mentioned Twitter. I'm on Twitter as Sean Orange, SCAN, and then the color orange. Also Famicom Dojo. There's also a Two Boobs Watch handle for the new podcast. Also on Facebook and YouTube and Stitcher and iTunes and anywhere else RSS feeds are downloaded as Famicom Dojo. And you can find my co-host Vink there as well. But he's Famicom Vink on Twitter. And I don't think I've missed anything. Zune! No, we're not on Zune.
Sadly, we're not doing Wii U chat anymore. Otherwise, we'd be on there. And Miiverse.
Right.
Oh, we didn't even talk about Miiverse.
I know. May it rest in peace.
Yeah, it was great. Why Nintendo? Why Metroid No Crawl? That's what always comes to mind.
I know.
I've been your host.
Need to stay dead.
Yeah. I've been your host, Jeremy Powers. You can find me at Zenspath, Zenspath, over on Twitter. You can also find this podcast on, well, obviously you found it somewhere, but iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher. We're also putting the video version over on youtube.com/ZenspathCom, where I'm also doing a video series on the openings of gaming called Moving Forward, which is forward like the beginning of a book, where I'm recording the openings for games, letting them play through, and just kind of preserving that for fun. But yeah, this has been episode 23, extra quarter 23 of the extra quarter. Ugh, can't even talk today. Zenspath Extra Quarter Podcast. And we are out. Peace.